Some last-minute changes in this Cash for Clunkers program is putting the brakes on some car deals already in the works. The EPA changed gas mileage figures on some older vehicles last week, which changed the eligibility for the cash sales incentive on about 100 vehicles. As a result, some vehicles no longer qualify because their combined mileage rating was revised upwards, while others that had not qualified before got into the program. The EPA says the changes were made after the agency double-checked its fuel efficiency rating on more than 30,000 different kinds of vehicles.
Susie, I'm here in the newsroom right now. Our staff has fielded dozens of questions like these since the Cash for Clunkers program went into effect. I'm here with West Michigan auto analyst Eric Merkel. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. First off, can we get a quick, say, Cash for Clunkers 101, if you will? What's the most basic rule of thumb for vehicles that qualify for this program?
Well, the vehicle has to be 8 years or older, and then the vehicle also, in terms of the program, there has to be a reasonable spread. In terms of cars, it's at least 4, but less than 10, you qualify for $3,500 cash back. So if you're bringing in an older car, and the new car that you're replacing with it is at least 4, but less than 10, it's 35. If it's over 10 miles to the gallon spread, then it's $4,500. If you have trucks and SUVs, sorry, it's 2 to 5, and if it's over 5, then of course it's $4,500. So at any rate, it's a little confusing, I know, but there is a really good site out there. Actually, it's called. You can just go to the Cars site, or it's right over here. We'll get it up here. It's. Sorry, I know the fuel economy .gov is actually an excellent site.
Has so many of those questions. It's a popular program, so we have been flooded with phone calls of people wanting to know more about it. Now, one of the things that we've heard, is there a limited amount of money that the government can spend on this program?
Yes, there is a limited amount, so I don't think it's going to last a long time. Okay. This is something that we expect to kind of cycle through here within the next 3 to 4 weeks. But you know, the savings really comes from the clunker. The bigger the clunker, the more the savings, because if you have a car that's 8 years old, there's still some vehicles that might be worth $4,000 to $4,500. Now, if you have a vehicle, of course, that's worth $500, it's of much greater value to you under this program because the government's going to automatically give you, if you qualify, $3,500 to $4,500 cash for that vehicle.
Does this apply to all car brands?
It does. It applies to all car brands. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a troubled automaker like a Chrysler or a General Motors. We talked a lot about their bankruptcy. It can be any brand. So it could be a Toyota, it could be a Nissan or a Honda for that matter.
So what happens to all these vehicles once they turn them in?
They're scrapped. Basically, they're not you are not supposed to resell the vehicles once they're turned in. That's the design of the program, is to take these old vehicles off the road and basically send them to the car boneyard, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
The heat.
Right. So far, our dealers seeing an impact on this? We're seeing a lot of traffic as far as the phone calls are concerned, and I know we talked to some dealers that said it was crazy.
And there's a lot of dealers that are piggybacking off this, you know, so you have Chrysler, which is going to double your cash back. Now, you got to be a little leery at some of it because, you know, the Chrysler already has incentives on their vehicles, and they have ranged anywhere from $1,500 to as much as $5,000, in some cases $6,000, depending on the vehicle. So they already have cash offers that are there, even if you don't qualify for the Cash for Clunkers program, but they are trying to market the two together to make it look bigger for the consumer so that they can attract more people into their dealerships.
And if people don't qualify for the Cash for Clunkers, at least they're in there and they can get some sort of an incentive.
Yes, exactly. So there's some occasions where the people may not qualify, but because they're now on the lot and because, you know, they're more familiar now with the incentive program, they may actually end up buying as well. Work on that situation. One of the things that's really important to point out, though, the last few days, the EPA raised its fuel economy, its combined fuel economy ratings for many of these used vehicles. So you may have had a vehicle that qualified last week, but the rating on that vehicle in terms of the combined fuel economy for that old vehicle may have recently been upped or raised by perhaps 1 mile to the gallon by the EPA, which would then void your discount.
It would make a difference.
It would make a difference, and that's why you want to go to the site and really look to see where your vehicle stands and where it's rated by the EPA, because that's what the dealers are going to use.
Check back and find out.
Yes.
Qualified last week, maybe not this week. So we'll have to wait and see.
As with all programs like this, they're very confusing. It takes a lot of time and a lot of research to really look into them.
Okay.
Okay.
Eric Merkel, thank you for
very
joining
much.
us.
I appreciate it. Appreciate
again, Suze.
Thanks, Suze. The Secretary of State's office is trying to make it easier for you to participate in the program, Cash for Clunkers, that Eric Merkel was talking about with Susan Shaw. It's offering a new way to obtain your registration history for your vehicle. Here's how it works. The Cash for Clunkers law requires that you provide proof of registration going back a year. A lot of times we rip it up if it's a year old. Car buyers called us earlier this week frustrated. They had to wait weeks to get a copy from the Secretary of State's office. Now, if you don't have the document, here's what you can do. Customers can go to their Secretary of State closest branch, show your driver's license, provide the license plate or vehicle identification number, pay $7, and walk out with that registration history in hand.